Invite to the stage Peter Gönitzer. He's the CEO and founding partner of the Nobilegroup. And he's going to talk to us about the iceberg of digitalization and the way of digital transformation. So I'm really curious of what he has to say to us. And by the way, he's brand new in the Nobilegroup. If my records are correct, then it's in its early days, so we can see a lot of energy now, I think. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for the really nice introduction. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure most of you will probably know about the Matrix movies. And there is the Matrix movies, the storyline of the Matrix movies are really similar to the story of digitalization. I will explain you that in the next minutes. I'm happy to be here with you and share my experiences, my challenges, my success moments. I was managing director of an Austrian energy utility for 5 years, responsible for customer services, IT, HR, and finance. Yeah, and now I'm founding partner of Nobilegroup, and my mission is to show you what I've learned in these 5 years and to transform this in a story for you. And now I want to take you on a short trip with the Matrix trilogy story and facing the iceberg. And the Matrix was released in 1999. It was a huge success because it really was a new dimension. New visual effects, new cinematography, a new entertainment value. And it was a huge success, and from that moment on, all films had to follow the concept. And this is really similar to the start of digitalization, when all players had to follow the concept and had to be in this topic in order to remain competitive. So all that happened so far. There were many marketing-orientated and PR-orientated projects. We all did it. We implemented chatbots, we implemented smart home solutions, service apps, and things like that. And we all loved them because all are wonderful new technologies, and they help us, on the one hand, to increase efficiency, but on the other hand, seen from a very customer-oriented view, there's only a short-term and a flat impact on our portfolio of products and services. The second part of the Matrix was released in 2003. It was again a huge success, and it grossed up about $750 million. So it was the most successful part of the trilogy. And of course, the show must go on. It was more of the same, which was projected on the screen. At this episode, in the energy business, we try to position our companies as a really innovative service companies, which new products, which new services. We started innovation programs. We started cooperations with startups, and we made further conferences and speeches, and there were so many buzzwords in the world. I observed every year new buzzwords were created, so much more buzzwords to come. The third, and so far last part of the Matrix trilogy, was also released in 2003. So only 6 months later, the third part was released, and it had a mixed reception from critics, and also it grossed only about half of the turnover of the second part. So the number of spectators declined. And this is again similar to the story of digitalization in the energy business. At the moment, we see less customer attention in some areas of digital services. We are still dealing with the same business. Very often, a utility is still a utility, and also very often, energy is still a commodity. While, at the same moment, the market is becoming more and more competitive because new players are entering the market. So, my experience shows me that it looks so nice when you're introducing a new product or service, but during implementation, you realize that it's so complicated and that your structures and your systems are old-fashioned. And even if you handle that problem, if you fix it, and you're prepared to take such a big project, you realize that it's very, very long-lasting. So constantly, you realize that the new competitors in the market have one big advantage. They have no legacy systems. Yeah? But you have them, you as a traditional utility, and you can't hide it. That's the truth, you can't hide it. And every time you try to introduce a new product, you will have the problem with the systems, and you will see that you have struggles, and that you struggle with it, and that it's really, really tricky to get it in the market, to get it in operation. So on the one hand, the customers will not be happy because a real good product should not fail on simple things, on basics. On the other hand, your employees are not happy because the marketer or the product developer are unhappy because they realize that it's so hard to implement it and that not everything is possible. And your IT department is frustrated of explaining what is not possible, and if it is possible, why it is so complicated. So the truth is that you have to work on the basics at some point. There's no other chance. And when I say basics, I really mean the basics. I mean your customer database, I mean your CRM system, I mean billing systems and so on. There is no other choice to do it. To be outstanding, because if you like to be outstanding, you should not fail on basics. And I'm sure that we have to be outstanding, because it's such a small step for big techs like Amazon, Alibaba or Google and platform providers and so on to offer energy products on their platform. And in my opinion, it's really a main threat of energy utilities to lose the customer interface and end up just as a simple supplier of energy at the platform. So this brings me to the iceberg of digitalization. I'm sure you all know the iceberg model of system thinking, and I think it fits perfectly to the mission of the digital digital transformation. As you can see, the downside is much bigger than the upper side. So this means you should look below the waterline, while above the waterline, all these beautiful tools are shining. But below the waterline, you find all the huge topics, issues like inflexible structures, inflexible systems, data silos, no or only little interconnection. Yeah? And the truth is you can't hide it. If you really want to be outstanding, really want to have a perfect product or service. So this means you have to deal with all the topics, with processes, with CRM systems, and of course also with the real basic like strategy, finance structure, and very special, very important talent management systems. So this means in the end, you have to deal with these topics, you have to deal with your metrics, and you have to work on it. this brings me back to the matrix. I'm sure you can achieve this transformation. It can be done. It's really an evolutionary process, and I did it. So, thinking of the matrix and coming back to my metaphor with matrix and films. By the way, Matrix was created by the Wachowski brothers. And thinking of films and film directors like the Wachowski brothers, like Scorsese or Tarantino, I ask myself the question, what is it? What makes them successful? And what can we learn from them? And I'm sure there are 4 success factors which we should consider. First, master your fundamentals. So this means see the whole iceberg and look below the waterline. Tell the complete story, play the whole game. Think of all components you need, and of course, think on your strategy and things like that. Get the best players on board, so complete your team on board, and be creative and put the cherry on the top. Translate it into business language. This means make a real good strategy, understand your company, understand your framework, and stop chasing the buzzwords. Then choose a really sustainable way of transformation which satisfies your customers and supports your employees and helps them to implement the things. Then start with the transformation and go a very evolutionary process. So it means that you should work on your matrix. And it really is possible. You will see if you work on a plan, if you try to work out a structure for future, and if you start a big transformation, you will see that the matrix, that you have to restructure your matrix, that you have to reset it and reboot your system. And you will see that Neo, the hero, will be back, and he will be stronger than ever before. And this means that your company will be transformed in a real innovative service company, and you are able to exploit the full potential of digital transformation. And you can have a portfolio of products and services which is really, really innovative and creative. So just do it, restructure, and reset your matrix. Thank you. Hours?
Yeah, we're all good in time. So there's time for some questions. Any questions in the audience? Okay. No questions. So let me think about a question real quick. Now you caught me on the wrong foot. So please, audience, help me. Any questions?
I was so convincing that you have no questions.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, yeah.
Okay, for example, when you were talking about your utility and how you actually transformed I would suppose, IT systems within your utility and starting the digitalization process, how long does this last? And what did you lose on the way there? Maybe employees, maybe some IT systems, partners. Did you lose partners like the huge one, the SAPs? Can you go into the future with this type of partners?
There's a microphone.
Sorry. So when you talked about
Maybe I try to repeat the question
Yeah, I think
so
that's
that everybody hears it. You answered how long does the transformation last? And if we lose partners or systems on the way? A really good question. Thank you for that. The transformation lasts for about 2 or 3 years. Our goal, we make a very evolutionary approach to do that. And of course, we lost partners on the way. We lost some system partners. We also lost employees. I think these are all lessons learned. It's important to try to get a really creative approach so that you don't lose your employees. And of course, you also lose some partners because you get rid of systems which are obsolete or you need them anymore. And it's also very important to get rid of them and try to take these also very painful measures. Otherwise, it's not possible to get the transformation done.
Okay, thank you.